some of you in here know me, some of you don't. My name is Max Hernandez. Just a little bit about me to start off. I've been fishing my whole life, and it wasn't until 2 years ago my son started fishing the Junior Bass Masters, and I was out boat captaining for them, and like 2 tournaments in, I'm hooked, you know. So I started getting into tournament fishing, and that's all she wrote. I love it. I love being on the water. I love the camaraderie with the co-anglers that are with me, with the other boaters. It's a lot of fun. But what I'm going to talk about tonight. Okay, sorry. What I'm going to talk about tonight is probably my 2 favorite things to throw of all time. And right now, at this time, I think is probably the prime time to throw these baits. We're going to talk about frogs and big worms, big 12-inch worms, 12-inch lizards, and how I rig them, how I fish them. So, as far as who in here throws frogs, for one? Have you guys had much success on it? Where do you throw them? Back coves. Yeah. See, I've this summer I've actually started fishing them, not just in the cattails, not just in the back of coves. I've been fishing them on points. I've been fishing them on rock walls, and we've been having success. You know, I usually don't fish them after dark, but I took these 2 boys out right here and slayed them. I mean, I was using this Spro. This one, I cut the legs off a little bit on it because I was getting bit a little short, but I was using the nasty shad color, white. It was pitch black, no moon, and just casting out against the rock ledges. They were biting for me, or for us, in the cattails back in the coves, and then we just kind of worked around, and it started getting late, and I just happened to make a cast over. I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to try it and see what happens, and I got a blow up on it. I'm like, okay, so I kept fishing the rock wall as it went into night, and I was telling the boys, I said, got to be quiet. I can't see the frogs, so I'm just listening for the blow up, and we caught a lot of fish that night. But this one right here, this summer so far, this white nasty shad has been good. Another traditional one I used to always use, I've kind of gone away from it a little bit because I'll be getting a bit better on these other ones, is just the natural frog color. I mean, you can't beat that anywhere you go. This is one I started using at Canyon. It's the Bronze Eye Shad series, and yes, you can tell it's a little different than the regular frogs. They're the legs are above each other instead of on the side, you know, side by side. Gives it a little bit of different action. On the frogs compared to the shad, you can kind of see the body a little bit's different. I can walk the dog with these. With the frogs, it takes a little bit more, kind of slacken your line a little bit more, just little pops, and I can get that frog to kind of go back side to side. But these new shad ones they got, I mean, you can really, it's like a Zara spoon type, but I mean, you can get some nasty stuff with you know, this stuff where you can't do it with a normal hard bait because the treble hooks get, you know, caught up and stuff. This black one here, I haven't really had a whole lot luck in our Salt River chain lakes, but the Colorado River chain, the black is by Martinez, down at Martinez, Havasu, Parker, all that stuff. The black one seems to be. I've heard guys were using the black ones at Canyon the other day, and they were catching some pretty good sized fish on them. But like I said, my go-to one right now is the white one. Now they just came out with this new one here. It's the I think it's a, what is it? Well, I know the Misty shad, but yeah. And this one's got actually a little concave nose piece on it, and the angle of the body, it's kind of cool because it's like a popper, so it spits, but it also walks. So it's spitting and walking at the same time. And this color I like this color more for the morning, the early morning bite. It's a little clearer and just seems to be working really good. Like this one right here, as far as frogs, most of them I leave the long legs. The other day, they just kept swirling on it, just right behind it, or they would grab the back and like literally pull my frog down. And so I ended up trimming it, and then they just started smoking it from that point on. So that was a little trick I was getting bit, we were getting the fish to bite it, they were just hitting it short. And another trick that I like to use is, for one, I throw all my frogs in 65-pound braid. If it's really nasty, I might bump it up. Like if we're down at like Martinez or something like that, and we're fishing the pencil toolies, and you can't really get your boat up there, but I'll make like 60-yard casts way back in the nasty stuff, and trying to get a 5-6 pounder out of that stuff. I mean, it's that's why I up the braid size to like 80 pounds when I do that. But other than that, I mean, there's tricks that people do. They put little rattles inside of them. There was one guy saying that I didn't see how he did it. I just seen it on his rod. He put a little underspin on the bottom. I was kind of interested in maybe trying to rig something like that up just to see how it worked. But on the braid, and I'll pass this around right now. Like there's the regular color braid. I always take a black magic marker, and then I'll notch a little V in the marker part. So I'll hold on to the frog, my rod under my arm, pull the frog, and then I'll run the black magic marker on it. And it essentially, to me, when you have the regular braid in the water versus the colored braid or the black on it, or I mean, you can also get it in black too, but it's a lot, you can't see it in the water. And for me, everything is about whether the fish can see it or not. So I don't know if I've gotten bit more. I don't know if it's just a confidence thing. I like coloring my braid the first 3 foot right in front of my frogs. I'm kind of upset sometimes when I get to the lake and I don't have a marker to color it, but yeah, so that's pretty much frog fishing. Anybody have any questions?
What's the biggest fish you've caught so far in frog?
Biggest fish is 8. Yeah. But
I've seen you catch double digit in the tournament at Roosevelt on a crankbait.
on what? No, not a crankbait, but as far as frogs, yeah, like frogs and big worms are my go-to bait for big fish. I mean, on an average, the smallest frog fish I usually catch, like this summer is a little different than the previous frog fishing times I go, but this summer seems to be a little bit on the smaller side. Like I think the smallest one I caught was like 2.5, but usually when I throw frogs, if I get bit, it's usually 3+, and especially night tournaments, that's my number one go-to bait. I don't care what lake I'm at. That last hour of light on a night tournament is I'll throw a frog just because it produces bigger fish. But anyways, I'll pass that down. You guys can check it out. This, I don't know if I mentioned or not, this one's that killer gill. Post spawn at Canyon, we found the big females were in the coves, but they were on the outside of the walls, and they're actually chasing bluegills and eating bluegills. And we were using the killer gill right along the canyon walls in the daytime and catching some pretty good sized fish on that. Yeah.
You go straight braid.
Straight braid. Yeah. And I always tie pelham or not. Yeah. That's just kind of my go-to. What's worked for me. I never had any issues breaking off, any issues untying, anything like that. So lately the frog bite's been yes.
No, finish your sentence, and I got a question.
Okay. Lately the fish have just been screaming it. I mean, every fish we caught the last 3-4 days, I mean, we're just choking it down. I had to get pliers just to get it out. I mean, it was all the way back by the crushers. So it's been pretty good frog bite. Oh, go ahead.
I want to know what makes you switch from a traditional frog to a popping frog.
I normally never throw popping frog. If I'm going to throw a popper, it's usually going to be a Rico. But I just don't like that new one. There's kind of got a popper nose to it, but I like it because it doesn't just pop and just sit. It'll pop and it'll cut one way to the other. And I've got probably 60 frogs, and I think I've got one popping frog. I've never really had a whole lot of luck on them. I know some guys do, but I like fishing those a lot better. And like as far as fishing them, there's different cadences you can use with them. Like sometimes, and when I first start off, like one day they'll like it like the nose popping like this, and then the next day they'll like it where I'm walking the dog with it. Some days I throw it and just nonstop bring it back to the boat. Some days they like it better on a pause. You know, they'll hit it on a pause. But it's just it's like with everything else. You got to just see what they want, what triggers them to bite. So now big worms, big baits. I love throwing big baits, especially at night. As you can see, there's a huge difference. You don't get bit as much, but it's the same thing. And I think that's why I like it with this, like with frogs. I don't get bit as much, but when I get bit, it's usually a dandy fish. And here's a biffle head that I kind of modified. It gives it a lot more action. And this is a 12-inch green pumpkin orange flake lizard that Jonathan over at Arizona Custom Baits poured for me. And it's these things, just as any lizard, they have a lot of action, but when you get it in that size, it's just, and you know, it's another thing with these big baits is, you know, you don't, like I said, you don't get bit as much, but they're usually good bites. Now, a little trick, a lot of people say, you know, I get bit on frogs or even big worms or whatever all the time, but I never catch them. And like with frogs, when you see the blow up, hear the blow up, you don't want to immediately set the hook. You want to give it like a 1-2 count, let them get it down, and then you set the hook. Same thing with these big baits. You know, I'll feel the tap, just a little, and it's like almost fishing like a drop shot sometimes. I mean, you just feel just a little tick, and I'll give them 2-3 seconds, and then I'll, you know, reel down and wheel back and set the hook. But I use, and you get them here. They're owner 11/0 hooks, long shank hooks. I was using 7/0. Ray Crown actually pours these for me, but I haven't been able to get with him since I switched these bigger hooks. And I found that on these bigger baits, I'm able to set the hook a little bit sooner because of going with that bigger hook. Because a lot of times with the 7/0, 7 or even 8-aught hook, I was breaking off like like the 7-aught hooks back in here. They were barely grabbing the back end of it. So that's why I would let them take it a little bit longer, and the hookup ratio just went off the charts after I gave them 2-3 seconds after I felt that little tick. Sometimes they'll pick it up and just run with it, and at that point, I usually just set the hook. But let's see. And then, so these I like fishing pretty much any rocky point, any rocky shelf that drops off, canyon walls, anywhere at Saguaro, or just pretty much any canyon walls. I like throwing it right up against the bank of those rock ledges, rock walls. And what I do is I just let it sink. And if you look, and another good tip is like when you're fishing rock walls or canyon walls or anything like that, I always look at the terrain above the water, because that'll tell you exactly kind of what the terrain looks like under the water. If it's a lot of smooth stuff, you're not going to have a lot of ledges underneath for it to catch the baits. But I'll let them sink until I feel it hit, and then I'll just pull it off the ledge, let it sink the next 2-3 foot to the next one, and just work it down like that. We've caught some 6, 7, 8 pounders in 90 feet of water, but they're holding at like 15 feet. There's just a little abnormality in the rock, or a little divot or something. They're just sitting there, a little rock shelf they were sitting on. So another one that we started using, we just came back from Alabama. My son was down there fishing the high school nationals, and we went to the Bass Pro 7-inch sticko, rigged up the same way, and started using it here since we've been back. And it's just another bigger profile Cinco sticko type thing, fishing it the same way. Now, I also fish these like at Saguaro. Everybody knows where the snags are at. You got a lot of grass lines. They come out, and drop off the grass and start dropping deep into the channel. This is a craw that I'm working with, Arizona Custom Baits, and we're going to start making these here pretty soon. This is something different that's not really out there. It's a custom mold that I ended up getting, and they've been slamming this the past 3-4 days, both at Canyon and Saguaro. And it didn't really matter where I was fishing. I don't know if it's when you see this fall, it's just got a real slow fall, but like everything's moving. And it's a really good bait. I'm excited to get with Jonathan and get something worked out on different colors and stuff like that. But I fish at Texas Rig, but I kind of add my own little twist to it. And I fish the lizards and the big worms also the same way if I'm fishing grass. If I'm fishing grass, I fish it this way. And why I put the little glass bead on there is every time I pull it, it clicks down there. So it's like it just gives it a little bit of noise. Crawdad, every time they hit a rock or something like that, they make a little noise. And I fished it without it and with it, and I seem to get bit a little bit more with the glass bead than without it. So, but that setup there is pretty much what I'll fish all these other bigger baits the same way if I'm on like flats or grass patches or anything like that. I'll also pitch these in close to cattails, and then work them back through the grass close to cattails. So, but I've had a lot of success on the 12-inch worm. These are the tournament series, Bass Pro tournament series, and I use a lot of colors. At night, I still prefer the green pumpkin, black flake, but I've caught some really big fish like Apache. I think the biggest smallmouth I've caught on a 12-inch worm, which I'm not really targeting smallmouth with 12-inch worms, but was 5 pounds, 15 ounces. It was almost 6 pounds smallie, and he swallowed that 12-inch worm. It was gone. So that's my spiel on those. Yes.
Another question is, do you have issues with the fish swallowing the hooks when you give them the 2 or 3 seconds to take the bait?
No.
No.
No. I did the other day, a couple of days ago. I was at Saguaro and I was actually using that little Texas rig setup, and I pitched it up on the canal bank. Or not like that. I work for SRP, so I pitched it up on the canyon bank, and I don't know, Gabe said something to me or something. I just, everybody gets backlashes every once in a while. I had just a little tiny backlash, and I was pulling it out, and the current was running in the river. And I just thought the current was taken. All of a sudden, it started going out away from the current, and ended up having a fish on it. He swallowed a little deep, but I was able to get him out. I put the pliers up through the gill plate, and got it. Even with that long of a shank worm, I was able to get it out without any damage. Just found a way good. That's pretty much it. Tricks on the rivers, either Canyon, Saguaro. Those are the 2 main lakes I like to fish a lot, just because it's close to home. But when they're pulling or releasing water, you'll see the current in the river, and it goes from one side to the other. And you'll have dead spots in the water. And I found that most of my bites with the frogs, we were catching a lot of fish during the morning the other day on frogs, but we were following the current. So anywhere where the current was up against the edge is where we're getting bit. And as soon as it went to dead water and that current went across the other side, we would jump to the other side. And then after the current they stopped drawing water, is when I switched to the bigger baits and started fishing the same. I knew the fish were there. We just started fishing the same way, just a lot slower, and just slow retrieve back. Any other questions or yes?
How heavy is one bait you're using?
Quarter.
All of those?
No, on the biffle heads, I like using like 7/16. The half if I'm going really deep. Like if I'm fishing off structure, 30, 40 feet down, I'll use like a half ounce, just to get it down there. But I like the lighter because it lets the lizard and the big worm just kind of flutter down instead of straight beeline. So, yes.
You bend your hooks up on the frogs a little bit?
Yes. It depends on where I'm fishing. Like if I'm at Martinez or something like that where there's nothing but tulies and I'm casting way back into some tule patches, or even like real thick matted grass, I won't bend the hooks up, and I just bend them up just enough, because if you don't bend them up, the hook ratio drops a little bit. But bending up the hooks a little bit, for the most part, will increase your hook ratio quite a bit. So, anything else?
Yeah. On those big lizards and worms, you're using straight braid on those too, or are you using?
No, I'm using on all those slower baits. I'm using 17-pound fluoro. So 17-pound fluoro, big caster, on a heavy fast tip, like 7 foot, 7.3 rod, Dobbins rod. So I like the fluoro. They can't see the line, but it's heavy enough to, especially on that stuff, because I'm fishing a lot of rocks and points and stuff like that. So that heavier pound 17, seems to keep the line from snapping, from running across rocks, bringing over points or whatever. Yeah.
Does the color of the weight when Texas rigging make a difference?
No, for me it doesn't. I've used plain. I think it's a confidence thing. Some people will not use an unpainted weight of any kind. Some people, doesn't matter. I've used them both. The other day I ran out of the painted ones, and just had regular, lead colored weights, and I was catching them just as much as I was with the other ones. So, yeah. Anything else? Yeah. depths as far as where I'm fishing. It just depends. Depends on the year. Depends on I do a lot of graphing, and just as I'm going, or like when I stop, as soon as I come off pad, I'll usually throw my graphs on like the it'll show my map, so I can see the contours of the lake, and then it'll have the down inside and sonar, and the graphs tell a lot. But if I'm just if I have, and there's been times where I didn't have graphs because they blew a breaker, something happened where I actually didn't have graphs to fish, or had to borrow a boat because and they didn't have graphs or whatever. But I just start off shallow. I usually always start off shallow and work my way out. If I'm fishing shallow, I'll have different things tied up. From drop shot to a jig to even like a big bait. But I'll have a crankbait. I usually always have one of everything tied on. I'll throw probably if I'm pre-fishing for a tournament or something like that, I'll go 10, 15 casts and then switch, and then until I finally start getting bit on something, and then I'll work that a little bit more. But as far as depth, I just start off shallow. If I'm not getting bit in the 1 to 8 foot range, and I'll move to like 8 to 12 to 15. But a lot of it depends on the year too. I mean, the year or the time of year really determines a lot where a lot of fish are. Spawn, they're going to be way up high. Winter, they're going to be a lot deeper. So, yeah. So just try your different depths. If you don't have a way to find them on a graph, then just try different depths until you get bit. And once you get bit, you just have that same. You just try to replicate every time you get bit. You just try to replicate that. And if you consistently get bit, then I pretty much think that's a pattern, and go with it. And then once I find a pattern, then I'll start switching up. Like if I was using a morning dawn drop shot at 12 feet and I got bit, and I keep getting bit, then I'll switch to something else to see if maybe, like that was a tournament at Roosevelt. I was drop shotting, and I was consistently getting bit on 1.5, 2 pound fish. And all I did was switch the color from morning dawn to a bold bluegill, and instantly my bite went to like 2.5 to 3.5 pound fish just by changing color. So, that answer you? Yeah.
Another question. Are you kind of going along with that? Are you using your graphs to locate fish, or just burning the bank?
I used to burn the bank a lot, and it just depends. If I'm throwing a crankbait or something, I'll burn the bank pretty good. But I'll use. I guess it just depends. If they're real shallow, it's hard to. If they're real shallow, there's a lot of grass. It's hard to use your graphs because they're hidden. But I will go like around points or right off of ledges to see if they're hanging out there. But for the most part, it's kind of a combination of both now.
Okay.
Like like I said, we just came from Alabama, and that's a whole different world of fishing over there. You're 150 yards from the bank, and you try going towards the bank, and you're still 100 yards away. That's 2 foot deep. Those people over there fish, 150 feet or 150 yards out from the bank where that channel goes, and so that was 99% of our fishing was depending on graphs. Like if you didn't have graphs over there, it was, and I learned a lot because I have really good graphs. I've got the 12-inch Solex hummingbirds, and I've used graphs here, but until I used them over there a couple weeks ago, I mean it's really helped. So since I've been back, I've been trying to look for the same things I was looking for over there, and using graphs a lot more just to locate fish. But yeah, it's kind of a combination of both.
Then one more question. This goober.
Yes, I trust him with my life. And I would think he would trust me with his life, considering he went in 52-degree water at Mead when we were pre-fishing one day. So, yeah, that was a fun story. I've got a Minn Kota Ulterra, so it's self-deploy, and it's got a hand control, but it's also got the foot control. He took over the one spot before pre-fishing and turned up the dial on the foot control to 10 just to get across this cove to go look at something. And we went off to another spot. You know, we went 3-4 miles down the lake, pulled in this other spot. He jumps up there all fast, grabs his rod, goes to cast, and steps on the continuous button. Well, when those Ulterras deploy, they deploy sideways. So he still had it on 10. So he pushed the button as he went to cast, and it went that way. It went that way, and it was cold. I mean, it was really cold. The water was, I think, 51 or 52 degrees. Outside temperature was in the low 60s, I think it was. So, and we were all in bibs and rain jackets, and so, yes. I trust you, Josh. But yeah, so he was down to his skivvies, and we were 23 miles from the boat ramp. And so I ended up giving him my coveralls. I had pants underneath, so I gave him my coveralls, and one of the other guys that was on the boat gave him a jacket. So he fished barefoot the rest of the day, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Right.
So yeah. Anything else? Anybody got questions on anything other than what I talked about?
Josh says that's love.
Yes. Yeah. So, nothing else?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.